Well, good morning, Chair Padilla and Commissioners. Item 6A is an update on the status of State Parks Public Works Plan efforts at the Oceano Dunes State Vehicular Recreation Area. So as you are aware, State Parks has been preparing a Public Works Plan, or PWP, intended to govern uses and development at Oceano Dunes, where their intent is to use the PWP as a way to take a fresh look at park operations and make changes to better achieve their objectives and address coastal resource issues. You'll recall that last July, the Commission required State Parks to submit that PWP for Commission action by summer of 2020. Staff had previously worked with State Parks on a schedule that would have put the PWP before the Commission at this October Commission meeting. Unfortunately, it became clear that this target was going to be difficult for State Parks to meet for a variety of reasons, including because the Natural Resources Agency recently decided that it too needed to be more directly involved in PWP preparation. So instead of a hearing today on a potential PWP action, today's meeting will instead be an opportunity for resources and State Park staffs to provide the Commission with an update on their PWP efforts, including their new proposed timeline. To help provide context for today's hearing, I'll provide a short summary describing the context and background leading up to how we got here today and why. And then I'll hand it over to the Resources Agency and Parks for their presentation. So first, a quick background on the park itself. The park is roughly 3,500 acres of beaches, dunes, wetlands, streams, and lakes located in southern San Luis Obispo County, adjacent to the city of Grover Beach and the unincorporated community of Oceano. The park allows off-highway vehicle or OHV use, as well as street legal vehicle use and overnight camping on the beach. Because Oceano Dunes is the only state park in California where OHVs and vehicles are allowed on the beach and dunes, the park is very popular and provides a unique recreational opportunity. At the same time, it's also a sensitive and important ecological area, and the entirety of it has been designated as an environmentally sensitive habitat area, or ESHA, pursuant to the Coastal Act and the San Luis Obispo County LCP, where such intense recreational activity would not normally be permitted. And this dichotomy is really the crux of the issues at the park, and the Commission has a nearly 40-year history of working with state parks to try to address this somewhat vexing tension, starting with the approval of CDP 482-300 in 1982. That CDP, also referred to by some as the base CDP, authorized uses and intensities of use at the park, but it was only structured to be interim in nature. In fact, it included a series of requirements intended to lead to final decisions on park management issues under the Coastal Act and LCP in the short term, including with respect to the nature and intensity of allowed recreational uses in light of beach and dune resource values. But as everyone here knows today, many of these decisions remain outstanding. Many questions have never been answered, and the CDP today still provides only interim authorization on key aspects of the operation. In other words, to date, we collectively have been unable to resolve these core issues. And because interim measures related to access, staging, and use limits were never finalized, the CDP is also structured such that the Commission can make changes to it as necessary to address coastal resource issues through an annual CDP review process. The most recent annual reviews took place in 2015, 2017, and 2019. In 2015 in Pismo Beach, the Commission heard issues related to access, staging, use limits, carrying capacity, and natural resource management, but took no action to change the CDP at that time, including because state parks requested more time to work through the various issues internally. Following that 2015 hearing, staff worked with state park staff in an attempt to move things forward based on Commissioner guidance from the hearing. And over the course of nearly 2 years, our two staffs worked together and discussed a series of potential CDP changes. This culminated in another review hearing in January of 2017 in San Luis Obispo. At that hearing, staff recommended that the Commission take action to modify the CDP to address the issues that were discussed in 2015 and in prior CDP reviews. At the 2017 hearing, State Parks again asked that the Commission not take action on the staff recommendation and instead asked the Commission to give parks more time to work through the issues on their own. And the Commission did not take action that day. Shortly thereafter, State Parks decided to embark on a public works plan as the vehicle to address the various issues affecting the park, and described it as an opportunity to reimagine ODSVRA to best meet today's regulatory and coastal resource requirements. State Parks ultimately released a draft PWP concepts and project alternatives report for public review and comment in February of 2019. But upon review of those PWP draft materials, we were concerned that the effort was not moving in the right direction, including because it did not appear to address the Commission identified issues from past CDP reviews, and it didn't appear to be consistent with the overarching vision of developing a contemporary plan designed to address the many difficult and serious issues and constraints presented by vehicular use and OHV riding along beaches and in dunes. Since there hadn't been one since 2017, and because of what appeared to be a critical need to provide Commission direction to state parks regarding its PWP, the Commission re-reviewed the CDP last July, again in San Luis Obispo. At that time, staff recommended 15 changes that we intended to be implemented immediately to begin to meaningfully address long-standing coastal management issues, including prohibiting Arroyo Grande Creek vehicular crossings, covering and maintaining trash facilities, prohibiting night OHV riding, making the 300-acre southern habitat exclosure permanent, and increasing predator management efforts, among others. At that time, State Parks asked that the Commission not enact such changes and instead defer any action until their PWP was submitted. Ultimately, the Commission did take action that day, but in a different form than recommended by staff. Specifically, the Commission action directed State Parks to address the 15 staff recommended changes in the context of their PWP effort. And it also provided formal Commission direction to State Parks in a letter describing the types of changes that were going to be necessary at Oceano Dunes to meet Coastal Act and LCP requirements moving forward in the longer term, including through the PWP. Importantly, that direction included the Commission's conclusion that it was time to explore alternatives to transition away from OHV use at the site. Finally, the Commission also required State Parks to submit the PWP for Commission consideration and action within a year by summer 2020, and to provide in-person quarterly progress updates to the Commission on its efforts prior to PWP submittal. Since last July's Commission actions, both Commission and State Park staffs have worked together to discuss PWP issues and status. At the last PWP update in July, staff reported to the Commission that we had agreed with State Parks on a tentative schedule for the release of the proposed document, as well as a tentative hearing date for Commission consideration. Specifically, State Park staff indicated that drafts of proposed PWP sections would be shared with Commission staff starting in July, and that a draft PWP would be released for public review the last week of August. In preparing to meet that schedule, staff thought it prudent to share with State Park staff the type of recommendation that staff would make to the Commission for the October hearing. So in early August, staff informed State Park staff that we intended to recommend that the Commission act in October to phase out OHV use over the next 5 years, and act to modify uses and intensities of uses at ODSVRA in a way that could be found consistent with the LCP. Importantly, staff's recommendation also included providing a transition to a new car camping area on the beach between West Grand Avenue and Pier Avenue, closing the Pier Avenue vehicular access way, opening up the beach fronting Oceano to traditional day-use public access and recreational activities for multiple miles without vehicles, and increasing habitat protections in the park further south. In staff's view, this preliminary recommendation is best understood as an extension of the Commission's action and direction from last July, and would allow for a PWP to cover ODSVRA in a way that would be consistent with the LCP. Subsequently, the Natural Resources Agency was also informed of staff's intended recommendation, and in early September, Resources leadership informed Commission staff that Resources was going to get more directly involved in the PWP effort and asked that staff not agendize this matter for October for a Commission hearing and vote. Instead, Resources informed staff that it wanted the new State Parks Director, Armando Quintero, to have some time to become more involved in the PWP effort, and it wanted time for Resources, State Parks, and California Department of Fish and Wildlife staffs to re-examine components of the PWP and complete the supporting EIR by the end of the year, and then to submit the PWP and EIR for Commission consideration at that time. And Resources asked that the October hearing instead be a non-action item where Resources and State Park staffs could update the Commission on their PWP efforts, including their proposed new timeline. And staff at that time agreed to Resources' request. Thus, the Commission hearing today is only an informational update. Although the Commission will take testimony from Resources, State Parks, Fish and Wildlife, and interested parties, and although the Commission can discuss and deliberate on whatever commissioners see fit, there is no staff recommendation for the Commission to take an action, and thus the Commission cannot take an action as a body today. If Resources' proposed schedule were to hold, then the PWP would likely be before the Commission for action sometime in early 2021, perhaps February or March of next year. This concludes staff's presentation to today's hearing, and I'll now hand it over to State Parks, Resources, and Fish and Wildlife for their joint presentation.